Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. I'm sure as you all know by now, we have got information about the EX part of the 10th anniversary, and basically I wanted to go through the announcement of the units as well as also talk about some of the details of the two very cool EZAs. So we'll start off with the new character being the TUR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Mini Daima, who obviously is a new concept. I don't think it's so much as that they're bringing out new units for EX part, but they could be testing how quickly players' spending will respond back with a new character release. So this may end up with them releasing LRs eventually for EX part, but we don't know. We'll see. I think this is just the normal TUR that comes after Annie, just being pushed up to fit into the Annie cycle because obviously it's Daima. So anyway, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is a pretty cool character. Transformation boost or gifted warriors category, key +3, HP 200%, attack and defense 170%, and an additional 50% for characters who also belong to Power Beyond Super Saiyan. So this is our first 220% TUR lead, which is pretty interesting. Super Saiyan, Saiyan Warrior Race, Golden Warrior, Royal Lineage, Prodigies, Limit Breaking Form, and Fierce Battle are his link sets. In terms of his passive skill, he has a chance of performing a critical hit and damage reduction rate of 20% up, and foresees enemy super attacks for 1 turn. So this is permanent, or I think it's only 1 turn. So his crit is up by 20% for 1 turn, his damage reduction rate is up for 1 turn, and he foresees enemies super attacks. So it's all pretty cool. It's very simple as well. There's no activation condition. Then he has his basic effects, key +3, attack and defense 200%, and a flat 20% damage reduction, which is pretty good. As a first attacker in the turn, he will have a flat 20% damage reduction again, which puts him up to 70%, which makes him quite tanky, which I think is also, again, pretty good. As a first or second attacker, he has attack of 50% and chance of performing a crit of 30% up as well. When attacking, he receives 200% attack, and when receiving an attack, he receives 200% defense. After receiving an attack, he will launch an additional super attack, and after receiving a super attack, he will launch an additional super attack. Pretty simple, it seems, to be honest. So yeah, I think overall a very straightforward unit, very cool in the process of like being an incredibly strong character that I think brings like some really good tankiness to the table, and I think that's all something that's very, very solid for Vegeta. It remains to be seen just how well he will be able to tank. 70% damage reduction is pretty good, but with no guard, there could be situations where he could take damage. But then again, it all depends on that multiplier from the 200% defense that he gets upon receiving an attack. We've seen with Super Saiyan 3 Go tanks just how strong that ability can be. So we want to see how it goes with Vegeta. Now, in terms of his active skill, he has the active skill Gallic Gun. This can be activated after performing 5 or more super attacks in battle, and he will greatly raise attack temporarily and cause ultimate damage to the enemy with attack of +33% for 1 turn. So, in terms of categories, quite a few. Overall, I think Vegeta is pretty good. I think personally he looks really, really solid. He raises attack and defense by 33% for 3 turns on a super, which is also something that's very, very good, because basically it allows him to build up his defense a little bit over the course of his cycle. And then basically he is able to boost allies' defense, which is always something that's really good. So that kind of covers Vegeta. I think overall he's a good TUR. I think it's difficult nowadays to see how well a unit's going to do as a tank, because damage reduction is so prevalent and so common, and bosses are hitting so hard that just seeing 70% damage reduction back in the day used to be like, wow, that guy's definitely a first slot tank. Now we've seen units with 50%, 60% damage reduction take absolutely insane amounts of damage. So It's just going to be one of those things that we're going to have to see. All in all, I think he's really, really solid. And there's some really good units that fit under his lead. Because he's got PBS as his additional lead. So you see he's got Power Beyond Super Saiyan, and he's got Transformation Boost. So you could pick up quite a few units that fall underneath there. That'll hit the 220%. I think AGL SS3 Goku Giant Ape fits the 220%. And that's huge because you can obviously incorporate him alongside Vegeta. Get that extra 10% damage reduction. Then Vegeta really is first slot tank because he's got 80% damage reduction. So I think there's definitely a good team out there for this guy. That's it for this. We'll take a look now at the EZAs, and then we'll look at his animation. So yeah, we'll look at the EZAs now. Obviously, yeah, in terms of Super Saiyan Goku GT, greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn. All that is more than fine, perfectly acceptable on the Super. Then obviously we get into the meaty stuff. Attack and defense 250% up, randomly changing key spheres, attack 30%, defense 20%, and crit chance 10% per key sphere obtained after getting 12 or more key. Very interesting, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. Then 3 or more key spheres, attacks for activated all types. 5 or more key spheres, launches additional super attack. For every GT Heroes category character ally in the same rotation, he'll have 70% defense up, damage reduction up. And then of course he launches an additional super attack, and when activating the active skill will guarantee crit and get a huge attack boost because active skill doesn't do much damage. Overall, very difficult to measure him and Vegeta, to be honest with you, but they look good. I'm not going to say they look insane, but they look good. And it's going to depend a lot on that orb changing. Like if you're able to consistently get close to 10, 11, 12 orbs with these guys, then I think you can definitely see them starting to run really nicely. Thing is, they both make rainbow key spheres, so it's just difficult to measure how that's going to pan out for you, because too many rainbow key spheres actually is a hindrance to orb units because they can't then make big strings. When attacking 12 or more key, Vegeta's just the inverse. Instead of crit chance though, he gets damage reduction. This should in theory make him tankier, but a lot of that's going to depend on key orbs. Like 3% is not a lot per key sphere. If he's getting 23, which is a full field, he's getting 69% damage reduction, which is huge. If he's getting 10 orbs, he's getting only 30%. How big is that going to be? We don't know. Guarding all attacks, more than fine. 77% attack up and a crit chance up per unit of 30%. So pretty good. Then obviously we have the animations for Vegeta. Pretty simple stuff. I think really well done what they've done here. I watched Daima, or I'm watching Daima. I've got 1 episode left. I moved house this weekend, and it's been really awesome. The animation has been amazing. The moments in the show, I think, have created a lot of material for Dokkan and just DBZ games in general. A lot, if you know what I'm talking about. So I think it's gonna be good, and I think Vegeta is a good sign of that. Very respectful to the animation. I think they left a little bit on the table to do some other units as well in future. So I think overall, good stuff.